What's up, Falcons fans? After an incredible Monday Night Football win over the Eagles, the Falcons are in full swing preparing for Week 3. But it looks like there are some injury concerns to keep an eye on. But before we dive into today's exclusive update, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the latest Falcons news. Now, let's talk about the injury report as we prepare for a big matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday night. Allgeier had a solid game on Monday, contributing 53 rushing yards to Atlanta's 152 total yards. He averaged an impressive 5.9 yards per carry, helping out a tough Philadelphia defense alongside Robinson, who averaged 6.9 yards per carry. However, Allgeier was listed as limited in practice on Wednesday with a hip injury. He only played 21% of the offensive snaps on Monday, so that will be something to monitor closely as we get closer to the Chiefs game. Also on the injury report is defensive lineman James Smith-Williams, who is also dealing with a hip issue. He has been a key rotational player for the Falcons' defense, recording 6 tackles in the first 2 games, with 3 of those being tackles for loss. His limited participation in practice could impact our defensive line depth this weekend. Other notable mentions include defensive tackle Antonio Hamilton Sr., who is still recovering from a groin injury. Head coach Raheem Morris mentioned that Hamilton is getting closer to being fully healthy, but it remains to be seen if he is ready to make his season debut against the Chiefs. Defensive lineman Taquan Graham was also listed as limited, but thankfully, his absence was just rest and not injury-related. So, Falcons fans, it's going to be a race against the clock to see if Allgeier, Smith-Williams, and Hamilton are ready for Sunday. Facing the Chiefs is always a challenge, and we need all of our key players healthy and ready to go. What do you think? Can the Falcons pull off another big win despite these injury concerns? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let me know how you feel about Sunday's matchup. Now, let's talk about Drake London and his thoughts on his recent touchdown celebration that made waves in our Monday Night Football win against the Eagles. So, here's the deal. Drake London scored a crucial touchdown late in the game, with 34 seconds left on the clock. Kirk Cousins threw a 7-yard pass to London, tying the game 21-21. It was a huge moment, and the excitement was sky high. But here's where things took a turn. In the heat of the moment, London celebrated by pantomiming shooting a gun into the air. What seemed like a spontaneous celebration quickly turned into a moment of regret for London. The Falcons were hit with a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, meaning kicker Younghoe Koo had to nail a 48-yard extra point instead of the usual, closer attempt. Thankfully, Koo delivered, giving us the 22-21 win we needed. But the penalty could have been costly. London, reflecting on the moment, wasn't happy about his actions. It's a trend around football right now to do that type of celebration, London told ESPN. It was my first Monday Night Football game. I kind of lost myself in there. I wasn't happy with the position I put my team in. But there's more to it than just football. The celebration came just days after the tragic shooting at Appalachian High School, which is located only 25 miles from Falcons headquarters. The Falcons had hosted the school's football team at their practice facility recently, so the incident hit close to home for the entire organization. London admitted that, in hindsight, the gun-related celebration wasn't appropriate, given the recent events and the sensitive climate surrounding gun violence. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world with gun violence that I don't think I should have displayed there, London said. So, I'm not too happy with it, and you probably won't see that again from me. Head coach Raheem Morris weighed in on the situation as well, saying that London immediately apologized after the game. Morris emphasized how sensitive the team is to the issue of violence, especially since it's affecting communities so close to the Falcons' own. Drake's celebration was one that you don't want to see, given the violence going on in our country that we're very sensitive to, Morris said. But there was no ill will or intent from Drake. It was just him having fun with the fans. But in light of what's going on, we all need to be more aware and sensitive to these situations. Morris also pointed out that the Falcons have been actively supporting the Appalachian High School community. The team wore T-shirts in honor of the school during warm-ups before Week 1's game against the Steelers, and some players were still wearing them in the locker room earlier this week. Our game is something that helps bring people together and heal, Morris said. We don't want to shine a light on anything negative, especially when there's no intent to harm, but we need to stay mindful. So, what do you think, Falcons fans? Should players be more careful with their celebrations, or was this just a heat-of-the-moment situation? Now, let's get into why Kirk Cousins is proving to be the perfect fit for this team and how his post-game comments after the Eagles win really showed his leadership. Coming into the post-game press conference, Cousins had every reason to celebrate himself after leading that incredible last-minute drive to victory. You know the Falcons have been under fire for weeks now, questions about Cousins' health, whether he could perform in big games. This was his moment to hit back, but instead, Cousins took a different route. Rather than pat himself on the back, Kirk used his time at the podium to praise his teammates. He credited his offensive line, the receivers, the running game, the defense, and even special teams for coming together to get that much-needed win on the road against a tough Eagles team. That, Falcons fans, is the kind of quarterback you want leading your team, a true leader who makes it about everyone on the field, not just himself. And this, right here, is why Cousins is exactly the quarterback Atlanta needed. After all the noise and doubts last week, Cousins stayed focused and grounded. He didn't take the opportunity to silence his critics by making it about himself. Instead, he kept his eyes forward, talking about what the team did well and what they need to keep improving. That kind of mentality rubs off on the entire squad, and it's a breath of fresh air compared to some of the attitudes we saw last season. Remember last year? Arthur Smith would often get defensive or dismissive in his pressers, especially when things weren't going well. But with Cousins and Raheem Morris leading this squad, the tone is completely different. These guys lead by example, and that's what separates them. Even after a game like this, where Cousins could have shut down the haters, he didn't. He stayed humble and focused on the next challenge. Let's be real for a second, Falcons fans. The last drive of the game, where Cousins pulled off some late-game magic, and then his calm, team-first attitude afterward. That's why we brought him here. It's why he was the right choice. There's no way a rookie like Michael Penix Jr. could have handled that pressure, and it's not something we would have seen from Arthur Smith's teams in the past. Cousins is showing us exactly why he's the guy who can lead this team to something special. Already avoiding in 0-2 hole, Cousins has set the tone early. And this is just the beginning, folks. Imagine what's going to happen when this team is fully clicking, when the rust is gone, and Cousins and Zach Robinson are firing on all cylinders. So, what do you think, Falcons fans? Is Cousins proving to be the perfect leader for this team, or is there still more to be seen? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Falcons news and updates. Go Falcons!